Let's talk about housing, affordable housing for Nigerians. Now, according to statistics, Nigeria currently has about 28 million housing deficits. And to tackle that, President Bola Tinubu has launched 3,112 housing units in Abuja, which is meant to be part of the plan to launch 20,000 housing units across Nigeria. To talk about this, we have someone who is a real estate practitioner, the MD CEO, Realtors Billionaire Group, RBG. I just like the name, Realtors Billionaire Group. Okay, I hope that is also that group is part of the plan to provide affordable housing, because when you say billionaire and affordable housing, I don't know if they go together in a sentence. But Otunba Gbemi Oyeneyin will tell me all about that. Good morning and welcome to our studio. It's good to see you in person.
Well, thank you. Good morning, and it's nice having me in your studio, at least today, and Femi as well. Thank you very much. Well, I think the president has started on a good note, and that he's taken the bull by the horn to say we're not just going to, talk about housing, but that we're going to start and then we're going to do it. And I mean, for some of us who are even members of the All Progressive Congress, I mean, it's a man who talks and then you see action. And that's why even at the inaugural launch, he was there personally. And that apart from that, we also know him to be somebody who collaborates with, the private sector. I mean, that is the same template Lagos is wrong. And when it comes to housing, I mean, we know that it's not something the government alone can do. So there's a whole lot of participation, from the private sector that is also, needed. And that is how the president has started it. So the scheme actually has three different segments. You have the one, the luxurious apartment for, the high and mighty. And then you have the, rent to own, for middle class and all that. And then you have the low income one where it is also the private, developers that will work that out with the government, because government is also trying as much as possible to give them some soft landing, providing the lands. So for all over the states, the 36 states, you're going to have at least a minimum of maybe about 9,000 housing units. So meaning, and each one, we're going to have 1,000, per location. Meaning, for example, the one in the Bejuleki now, they've allocated about 2,500 housing units. Each state, if you divide the 50,000 housing unit budget for this first phase, meaning each state of the federation will have about 9,000 units, just approximately. So meaning in each state, they might distribute a minimum 1,000 per each slot, meaning you're going to have about 9 different locations in each state. And for each of them, the private developers are involved. Government is going to provide the land. Government is also going to allow the Federal Mortgage Bank to also come in to assist. And that is where the rent to own and then, provide single digit, mortgage for maybe the civil servants and all that, for them to be able to pay over, a period of over 20 years. So this, and then the president has also allocated in this year's budget, over 120 billion to kickstart. So it's not just, political talk or whatever. It's already, in fact, the construction has begun in Abuja. So it's not even something that, and then, the president, number one, chose, a renowned seasoned architect as, Minister of Works. So it's not just political, grandstanding and all that. And then he also brought in a team of, seasoned experts to work with him, who are not even members of the party. So it has nothing to do with, party issue. This is just to get housing template, running again in Nigeria.
All right, let's check the table now, if I may use that word now, because there are some people who feel there's a political side to this. This project is tagged Renew Hope Housing Initiative. Now, with that brought politics into it. In some people's argument or school of thought, do you think this is just looking like one of the activities of the government that you were quick to start, but midway, it might not, get to the people who actually need this service? And then there's also concern about the affordability of this kind of housing projects. What's your take on this?
Well, if we look at the antecedent of the current president, he's never been a man who talks politics without action. I mean, and we can see that in the way Lagos, yes, to every president belongs to a party. So definitely, and every party has an agenda, you also want to market your party. You also want to sell your party. Yes, you also want to show that your party is, has good program for the people. But like I said, I mean, the antecedent of the current president is a man with, with successful deliverables that we can, count on. And I don't think we can actually count, several projects that he initiated and never completed. So, and like I said earlier, he has, number one, for the first time, we have, even if you look at the Ministry of Roads, he brought in an engineer, seasoned engineer, a former governor. Now for Ministry of Housing, he brought in a seasoned architect. So it already shows you a man who wants result. And also, don't forget, he has also told all the ministers, anyone that does not perform, he's going to sack. And of course, we know this is not a man who is afraid to sack anybody. If you're not performing, he will sack you. And nothing is going to happen because he wants a result. So it's not just about politics, but it's about result. And the current state of Nigeria, needs a renewed hope that you can't come again and do politics and just talk without result. We've gotten to that point where anything you say now must be backed up with action. And don't forget, another election will come very soon. So the president also needs this result, for re-election. The party also needs this result for re-election. But most importantly, Nigerians, we need succor. Nigerians need this renewed hope. And then you mentioned the other part, affordability. The current scheme has put into place all of that consideration for the low-income men, for the civil servants. And that is why the minister has put into place 3 different templates. Number 1, there's a funding aspect of it. 2, there's a land aspect of it. And 3, there's the strategy aspect of it. In fact, the chairman of the strategy section of it is a seasoned man who has been in, and he's not even a member of the party. But the president brought him in because of his wealth of experience and his dedication to seeing that at least Nigeria can boast of, a good housing. And so, in terms of affordability, 1, part of the agreement with the private sector for those who are going to be allocated and brought on the scheme, when you build, for example, government is providing land to them at, very, very, close to nothing. Now, when they build, for example, they are allowed to also have sections for luxurious apartment, right? Now, from there, government knows that, oh, if you build a luxurious apartment for, say, 100 million, you can sell it for 200 or 300 million, depending on the location. Now, from that, there's an arrangement with the ministry. Out of it, you're going to build, 1-unit apartment, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, that you are now going to subsidize. So for a 1-bedroom unit that you want to sell for, say, 15 million or 20 million, and then the arrangement is there that this will be made available for the citizen at, say, 3 million or 3.5 million. That is a huge, so that template is already there. Because if the government is building houses and the masses cannot, afford it or access it, then it's of no use.
All right, let's look at completion of this project, because this is not the first time that an administration will talk about providing affordable housing. But what we found in some cases, either it works in some areas or in some states, it doesn't work in others. It is started, it is not completed. Now, you seem very convinced about this project. How do you think it's going to run? Do you see completion of it, even though it's just been launched, in sight already?
It is very simple. By the time you look at the template and the sincerity and the extent, number one, 120 billion that is already in the budget, it's nothing, compared to what is needed. But already that tells you that the president has already empowered the ministry to kick start. So it's not like they are waiting for any approval anymore to kickstart. Already funding to kickstart is approved. Is already in the budget. Budget is approved.
All right, let's talk about those who are qualified to assess this kind of housing unit. I know for some civil servants it could be quite easier because directly from the source, you can deduct from the source. But for those who are not in civil service or in the informal sector, how can they benefit from this? Then the home to rent thing, how is it going to work out? Give us a background understanding to how the installment payments, or is it going to be monthly, is it going to be yearly, and then how is it going to turn out to ensure that these housing units actually get to the middle class or the low class, those who actually need this kind of service, especially the home to rent option? Yeah,
to start with the home to rent, the way it works, it's not new. This works basically, first is the salary earners, those who earn salary. It's easier because all it's saying is that, okay, at least there is a proof that you can pay every month. So that structure is there. So anybody that has at least a good, salary structure, a company and all that you work and then you can provide that, it makes it easier. Now for those in the informal, also, there is no way the bank will not come in anyway. And that is why this is, like I said, even the minister, the template has a 3, scheme, which is a funding. So they are looking at the funding aspect. And that is where the PPP actually comes in as well. And whether you like it or not, that is also where the federal mortgage is coming in and the banking sector. So, and like I said, to be honest with you, when a government wants to do something and wants results, they get it done.
All right, so this seems to be, or seems to mean boom for the real estate sector. Do you agree?
Yes, it is the necessary template and participation that is, globally accepted. So it's not new, but yes, I think this is I wouldn't say first time, but we are getting closer to working with government, particularly the federal government, in real estate development. And it also because it is clear to everybody, government cannot provide houses for everybody. It's not possible. It's not realistic. So definitely the private sector must come to the table. And when it comes to housing, it's the real estate developers. And that is why they must work with us, we must work with them to make this a reality.
Let's talk about the issue of mortgage financing in Nigeria. You observe that on average Nigeria, if you need to build your house, you have to save money, build out of pocket, save your money, over time for you to be able to afford to do that. Unlike in the other client, talk to us. What should be done differently, and what should the present government do to address the issue of mortgage financing, which is very critical?
Well, the push comes from the federal government. And like you've said, is the Federal Mortgage Bank. And funding also is the issue, even for the Federal Mortgage Bank as well. But I believe, like I said, the president knows the problem and the challenges. And that is why the number one is funding. So the Federal Mortgage Bank, is said that will be refinanced, because it must have enough to be able to accommodate more people. Because if we are talking about 50,000 housing, in the next 4 years, the funding for it also, at least the one that will come from Federal Mortgage Bank, or the people that will be able to access, because also more and more, this means a lot more Nigerians will be informed or told that, Federal Mortgage Bank is available for them, for their use, particularly, the civil servants, and then, those in the structured, companies. This will have to be made for them.
All right. Now, do you think this will be enough to address the challenge of 28 million housing deficit? You mentioned earlier that government alone cannot provide housing for Nigerians. What kind of partnership will be needed to ensure that, if not totally meets the gap, but close it to a reasonable extent?
Again, you will also see that the government has set a target that they know is realistic. We can't wake up today and say we want to close the gap of 28 million in 4 years. No. But once the template is there, it's easier to continue. It's easier to grow from there. It's easier for other aspects of it. Don't forget that when there is a boom in the real estate sector, it creates millions and millions of jobs. A whole lot of economic activities also, develop spin from there, which will have ripple effects in the general, economy of the people. So if, for example, if you have just one location of 1,000 housing unit, do you know how many people that will employ? Do you know how many food sellers will be there? Do you know how many people will be selling drinks? Do you know how many, just at that, construction period alone, a whole lot of economic activities also go on there. And that will begin to make life easier for the people. And, economic activities will always have a ripple effect, that will help the people.
Now, behind the scene, we made reference to, it's good to disclose it publicly now. We'll make reference to the Jakonde housing unit. I want us to look at what has happened to the housing unit over the years and then draw some lessons. Are you worried when you have this kind of initiative coming up about, the quality of construction, then the issue of maintenance culture over the year. A good reference is that of Jakonde. Some of the people who took over those buildings, you know, they didn't pay they pay little or no attention to the issue of renovation, or when it comes to the issue of attention to details. What should be the template when you have this kind of initiative being launched for people to have proper maintenance culture the moment these units are handed over to individuals?
All right, thank you very much. A lot has evolved since the era of Jakonde. I mean, that's over 30 years ago. During the era of Jakonde, there wasn't anything like estates, you know, concept in Nigeria as of then. And then even real estate developers were not into, you know, big time real estate construction or estate maintenance. It wasn't there. And that is a difference now, that this project is bringing on board real estate developers. So it's not government just building now and, you know, handing over to people and everybody's just on their own. This time around, private, you know, practitioners are on board to ensure that it's not just to build and then, you know, you hand over, but that the estates are maintained and cultured. And then again, Nigerians, we've also evolved, even in your streets, even in your area. Everywhere is now an estate, because we've learned that government cannot maintain everywhere. And for you to have basic amenities, road, drainage, and things like that, you know, that the community must come together to maintain their estate. So that is now, you know, in operation, and that will make maintenance of these estates easier. And like I said, since the concept is already an estate concept, so it's easier for them to form an association for, you know, continuous maintenance and improvement and all that. So we're in a good position for better maintenance now.
All right, my question is in twofold. The first part, still on the maintenance of some of the already existing housing estates. There are some of them that are unoccupied, some of them started but never completed. Do you think it would be wise to finish some of those projects in addition to creating new ones? And then secondly, you talked about the different categories of homes that will be provided. There is a luxurious or the luxury homes. But do you think, if the plan is to provide affordable housing, why should government go into construction of luxury homes? Because those who will be able to afford it can by themselves provide those housings for themselves.
It's not the government building luxurious apartments.
But it's part of the plan.
It's the developers that would do that. Like I said, the developers are given three different structural development. One, the luxurious, all right, then the rent to own, and then the one that has to do with social responsibility, which is single units, you know, apartments, and all that. So it's not the government. What the government is doing at this phase is to kickstart. And like I said, I mean, a lot of private developers are going to be allocated lands, and they are the ones to build. Like I said, when you are allocated a land, for example, a land that costs, now for example in Lagos, like the Bejuleki now, I mean a land with C of O that costs about 20 million, and then government is giving it to them at say 5 million as developers, and then they are building, you know, part of it, they are using it to build luxurious apartment. Government is saying, out of that, you are going to use your excess profit when you sell to be able to subsidize the 1 unit bedroom apartment, 2 unit bedroom apartment, 3 unit bedroom apartment for the low income earners that ordinarily would sell for say 15 million. You are going to give it to them at say 3.5 million.
So
that is a kind of
like
structure.
The structure is to augment the other parts, which is going to be
exactly,
the low income.
Exactly. So the government has really taking its time, like I said, bringing experts who have been in the industry and who can recommend what is feasible and realistic, So that is the arrangement. Because if government is already giving you as a real estate, this is the arrangement. Okay, we are giving you, by the time you build the luxurious, how many units of luxurious apartment are you going to, we know already how much you're going to make when you sell to, the luxurious class. Out of these, you're going to subsidize the number of approved, single units for the low income earners through the government. So that is how it's done.
Talking about this issue of subsidy, who is going to subsidize here? Let's make it clear.
The private developers are the ones. That is why there's a contract already, so that you're going to sign. So it's not word of mouth. So all that is already included. All that calculations and all that is already in the template.
All right. In all this, I'm still worried about the plight of those who are in the informal sector, because it's easier to capture those who are in the formal sector. You have all their details, in the custody of the government. Should there be an arrangement for those who are in the informal sector, like a special template for them that will cater for their peculiarities?
Don't forget that those in the informal sectors also have bank accounts. They run. You can't say you want to, it's not like the houses are going to be given free. It's just that they're going to be subsidized, at least to be able to make it affordable. So even if you're in the informal sector, you're a businessman, you're a trader, you have business that you're doing. And the history is there, how much you have earned in the last 2-3 years, how much you can make now. That arrangement is going to be put in place. And the truth of the matter is that the government is not going to do something that's just going to be beneficial to those in the formal sector. No. Don't forget also, most of the party people are in the informal sector. So every class has been captured and how to bring them on board. But for me, the advice of government is to make it, information is key. Education is key. People need to know how to access these facilities and how to go about it. So I think that is where the orientation needs to come in. A lot of publicity needs to be done in each of the states. And then a system needs to be put in place to ensure that at least the ordinary citizen who want to can access them.
Talking about access, the plan also is to ensure that these new cities that will be built, where you have the new housing units, will have access roads and every facility that it needs to decongest the city centers. But like other plans, other estates, these have been planned on paper. But in reality, we've seen that some estates, or a lot of estates that we see today, whether being developed by the government or by private developers, don't necessarily have what it should have within itself to decongest the city center or to make it very habitable and very complete for those who are in it. So what is the plan to ensure that this structured, this planned cities actually stick to what is on paper?
Well, don't forget that up until now, there hasn't been a strong attention, from the government, to actualizing, real estate development. And that is why I believe with the template and the commitment of this current administration that a lot will be put in place. And like I said earlier, estate development now is not just for the the developers alone. The residents, by the time they also come in, they're going to continue, on the basic. I mean, when you talk about an estate, the basic thing is a road, drainage, electricity. Then, if you want to put security, if it's an enclosed one. But maintaining it, of course, the residents must take ownership of that. And because, we are coming in as private developers, these are the part of the education and then structure that we will ensure at least is put there before people start, moving in.
Now, let's look at the plan also to construct about 2,500 housing units, looking at the location in Bejuleki in Lagos here. That place is looking like they are for real estate in recent times. What's the point of attraction, Bejuleki?
Well, the point of attraction is very clear. Already, the Dangote refinery is operational now. The seaport is also there, right in front, and an international airport is also in the pipeline along the same route. So what else? I mean, that's enough to move anybody there. That's enough to develop and expand and, grow that axis, because all of those industries there need, serious accommodation.
Will all these factors not lead to a hike in the prices as well?
Naturally, real estate thrives on, development, and the prices definitely will be going up. Seriously. I mean, why are people investing in the axis? It's because of that expectation. That's why we tell people buy there and just keep or hold, because we know that in a couple of 5 years, what you are buying for 5 million now will worth probably over 50 million. That's the normal trend. That's capitalism.
Now let's take this to other states. There are states where real estate doesn't really thrive because you do not have it's not commercial enough to attract a lot of persons. But with these housing units going to different locations, what would it mean for real estate in those states?
It also means good news. Today I can tell you there were states we tried to venture into just a couple of years ago that we had to, just stay back and abandon, because the system there, the economy there, and the standard of, real estate development there is not encouraging. So I can tell you this will encourage developers in those states and those axes, particularly local developers. It's an encouragement. Like I said, government is coming from two angles, which is funding to help in the area of funding, which is the main problem. So where civil servants or citizens now have more access to funding to be able to get into mortgage, why not? Developers are there. Developers are in every state, but funding is also their main problem, because the banks are not there to easily do that. So this is going to help real estate development. In fact, the president's vision is to make Nigeria another construction country where huge construction, if you go to Bejuleki now with what Dangote is doing there, it's huge. It's huge, massive. That when we talk about Africa, a project like that has not taken place in a short time.
Talking about construction, how has the hike in the cost of construction materials impacted the real estate sector? Is there anything that can be done about it?
Well, like every other thing in the economy, dollar is affecting pricing because we are, import dependent. And recently, the price of cement jumped from 5,600 to 7,000. So, and even the current project we have on, we had to just quickly stock cement just to, so it affects construction as well. But that is why I believe government needs to step in and then to be able to bring some, cushion. But again, I believe the central bank and the federal government is looking into what to do. And I think recently that's why the CBN has given instruction to banks to offload their excess, FX and all that, just to try to cushion, the rate. So I believe government must do something in that regard.
All right, let's wrap up with this because I'm wondering how you developers coping. Yeah.
Well, this is Nigeria, and we are Nigerians. And the fact that we're here means that we've said we're going to make it here. We're going to go through the tough time and then grow with it. There's no challenge, like I said earlier. All of us need to believe in Nigeria again. And that is where the renewed hope vision is not just about, a party thing. It's also for individuals. Those of us who are here, those in diaspora must also still believe Nigeria will work. Nigeria will come back again and then be strong, and then a place where all of us, will be proud of. So I believe we will get through this.
Talking about those in diaspora as we wrap up, one of the plans or hope of those who jackpot is to be able to own their own homes. And with a hike in the cost of building materials, there are different development or innovations in terms of building construction, low-cost housing, and all of that. Are there others other type of housing that should be explored if the cost of cement is going up? Are there other ways to build houses that are also durable and standard?
Trust me, we are looking into all those options. We are looking into modern way of construction. We are looking, and if you actually check, even now, the size of buildings, particularly terraces and all that, is looking smaller and smaller.
But doesn't that mean problem for those who inhabit it?
No, but for me, it only means that we are maximizing every square meter we've got. So gone are those days that you just build house and then there's just one huge space or compound and all that. Now you have to value every square meter and then to maximize it. And that is why you would notice, even in Lagos and everywhere now, shared apartment, people who have apartments here and then they travel out, they give out the apartment on short lets. Everybody is thinking about commercialization. So we're evolving.
But isn't there a downside to that maximizing in quota space? Because we're beginning to see hut-like structures.
Well, there's a standard to everything. With the fact that you are maximizing space does not mean that quality or the standard space for living and all that will be jeopardized. But I'm only saying that now we value space, we value land, we value every square meter.